Hey guys, Adam Fennig here, and you are tuned in to another episode of the Talking Shed podcast. Today I am doing this solo. Cody and his wife have welcomed a little girl into the world, Hallie, and so I'm on my lonesome here, and Cody's taking care of that. So congratulations to them, and that's exciting. So that's number 3 for them. So they've got their hands full. So I'm going to tackle the podcast here on my own today. So a lot of good things to talk about. Today is May 16th, so we're halfway through the month of May, of course. And for a lot of the region, it's been some slow going. I don't have to tell anyone about that, really. I mean, I traveled kind of far and wide a little bit this week. I went up into northern Michigan, went down into Lancaster, Ohio, and saw a variety of stages of fields. You know, we had fields that had never been touched. Of course, fields where I've got some guys side dressing in Ohio even. That's hard to believe. I had my first side dress call late last week in southern Indiana. So things are all over the board as far as planning dates and emergence, and of course, things just laying idle too. So I don't have to tell you guys that. Everyone's probably aware of that status, I'm sure. But you know, we've got some somewhat favorable weather from what I'm seeing here in the next 4 to 5 days. Lower percentages of rains, and so it doesn't take long to get that crop in the ground if we can just have a good week of solid weather, maybe a little. Probably going to catch a rain in there, and then another good week, and we'll be good to go. Things can happen quick, but for us, we're going to have people side dressing. We're going to have people plant corn at the same time, as far as customers stretched across the country. So I traveled up into Michigan because I had a customer that we had sold a BBI spreader to, kind of up. Heck, he was 4 hours from our shop, and we put an ag leader module on there, and he ended up having some problems with it. So I left early in the morning, drove up there. We ended up having to swap out the module and got him running. So that was fun to to be able to visit his farm and leave there knowing that he was very comfortable with running that spreader. So that was a good trip, and that's some of the things that we get to do, to be able to travel a little bit, get on the farm. I'd only ever talked to this customer over the phone, which is typically how most of the deals go anymore, and we shipped the spreader up to him. I never met him, so got to go up there and spend some time on his farm. He's a younger kid just trying to get started and doing a phenomenal job up there on some ground up in Michigan. So that was fun to be able to see that. I really enjoy being able to travel and see all the different types of terrain, the different types of, different ways of doing things. Whether there's some livestock involved, or irrigation, or planting corn on beds, or planting various types of crops, cotton, different row spacings, all that's pretty exciting to get into, to see the unique techniques that guys are implementing on their farm to make things work for their environment, really. And it's pretty interesting. You've got some hills, you've got flat ground, and it all plays into how their operation comes together. Today I traveled down to Lancaster, Ohio. Went down there. I had a tank to pick up at Norwesco. A lot of people don't realize how many tanks are made here in Ohio, mainly like planter wing tanks or some small storage tanks, not real big stuff, but Norwesco has got a facility down there in Lancaster. If you take 33, through Columbus there on the south side, travel down through there. And so I went down there, picked up a tank that we're going to need for a trip next week that we'll talk about here in a second. So it was just a lot faster to go pick it up. Shipping was going to take quite a while, and for a 3-hour drive, I figured it was wise to get that done and get it picked up. So we had an extremely busy week for us. The wet weather creates adversity for everyone, but it really makes a lot of guys put on the thinking cap. It makes them maybe reevaluate what they're doing. Are they weatherproofed? Is their planter or tillage program, is it designed to be able to handle the types of scenarios that we've been thrown at us? We're going to have heavy residue. We're going to have weed pressure, not necessarily weed pressure, but we're probably going to be planting into dirtier fields than what we typically do. So, we talk row cleaners. We've been talking a lot of closing wheels. Those are going to be very crucial. We've been talking a variety of different tillage tools. Guys are really looking at their operation and saying, man, some years in the past, we've just been able to go in there with the tillage tools we have, and it's been dry for 2 weeks and work it and plant right into it the way our planter is and run those smooth closing wheels, and it all just works just great. Well, it's a different story now. We're getting rain every third day, and it's wet underneath. It can kind of dry out on top. So how do we get that planter running to get some acres done before that next rain? And if you're not set up to do so, you're going to have to sit. And being May 16th, that doesn't always work. We got to find ways to get out there, ways to plant. And that's what a lot of the conversations I've been having with customers this week, they're just thinking, a lot of this downtime creates a lot of time to think and plan for the future and how they want to do things different. I've been talking to a lot of guys who maybe do certain tillage practices in the fall, and they're scratching their head saying, man, maybe that's not always the right move. Maybe we don't need this particular tool, and maybe we need to try out this one. So it's been good. A lot of good conversation to diversify their portfolio of equipment to help that diversity. Row cleaners have been a big deal. Here in a little bit, I want to talk about some beans that I planted on May 3rd. Took a chance. It was maybe as dry as what we've been so far this spring that day, and I thought, well, it's not going to get any drier. I didn't think so at that time, and so I put them in. So we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But this week was crazy for us. We had everything from guys needing help with their side dresser all the way to we installed red balls on a planter this week. So all ends of the spectrum. It's definitely interesting. So let's walk through what we kind of had going on this week. We're shipping equipment out of here daily. It amazes me how we ever got by in the past without a semi. Heck, we have 2 of them now. There's not a day that goes by that we're not either loading up our detached trailer or hooking up one of our semis with that retriever tow hitch to a tool to deliver it either for a demo or for a purchase delivery every day. Not only that, but we'll have brokers who are coming in that we hire to haul equipment across the country, and every day equipment's moving, and you can't do that without the right equipment. And so our semis are staying busy, and as most of you guys know, Grandpa does those deliveries, and we sent him kind of here, there, and everywhere this week. He was down in Cincinnati, he was in Marion, Ohio, he was up in Michigan today, delivered a side dress applicator up there. So that was a big part of our week, was just the logistics. That's a big part of every week, really. And the logistics thing, it's something that'll sneak up on you. You can't just wake up and say, well, we're going to take this tool to Columbus, Ohio or Michigan today. You've got to get maybe some permits. You've got to get that thing loaded and strapped down, because before you know it, it's noon and he's got a 3-hour drive. And so the trucking day has to happen the prior day, really. So Monday's load will get loaded Friday, and Friday's load will get loaded Thursday. And so we're always constantly, as soon as that trailer gets back, we're figuring out what's going to get loaded next. Sometimes we got to break them down to get them out the door. But from there, we were able to knock out some demos. I ran a Salford vertical tillage tool on Monday in some chiseled ground here locally to a local farmer. The ground was, I did a YouTube video on it if you want to watch, but it was very uneven. And we went in there with that 1200, ran it at a slight angle. He chiseled it in the fall, and so we ran against those humps, leveled it all out real nice, and that turned out really well. I was kind of surprised at how well it was able to knock down those humps and level it out. But man, they did do a great job. We did some demos today. It was actually dry enough here locally in some places. Cody did a demo on a 1200 as well. So we were able to stretch out a little bit, get some tools dirty, and that's always a good thing. So we got some Y-drop toolbars that are getting ready for delivery. We're assembling a 2200 in the shop. So the ambulances were running out doing service calls. And so just a pretty dang busy week, really, in the shop and for deliveries and demos and all of it. So speaking of service trucks, you'll have to be looking for a YouTube video coming down the pike here. We're getting a new service truck, brand new Dodge with a custom Martin truck bodies bed. If you guys have ever seen our gray Ford F450, you've seen the custom Martin truck body we have on that one. We sent this chassis, this Dodge cabin chassis, out to Pennsylvania for Martin's to build the bed and install it. And I think it left Pennsylvania yesterday. So it's going back to the dealer for some inspections and stuff, and then we're going to get it. So hopefully we'll be seeing that thing. Got to get it loaded with tools, and that thing will be hitting the road here before too long. So that'll be exciting to have another service truck in the arsenal. But overall, that was a lot of the week. Now, some other new things coming down the pike. If you've driven by our lot lately, you've maybe seen us out digging some holes or piling some stuff up out along the road. We've got a huge 25-foot sign coming in. You know, we of course just moved here to this new location on 29, and I've had a lot of guys, you know, mention, hey, you know, I drove by, I figured that was your place, but you know, we don't have much signage out there to say what the heck we are. And so we got a sign, and that thing it's not here yet, but the holes are in the ground. I think the concrete's even in the ground, and it's getting close to being ready to go. So that'll be great whenever that thing gets installed. We've got a list of our dealer or our vendors that we carry, so Fast and Salford and Yetter and J&M, and everyone is listed on there. So it's going to be lit up at night. It's going to have a flagpole. It's going to be real nice and add a nice touch, kind of a finishing touch, really, onto this new location. So that's some other new stuff coming down the pipe. As far as hot topics this week, you know, I really couldn't do a podcast without talking about the Salford vertical tillage tools. I talk about them a lot, but man, this wet spring that we're having, it is driving a lot of guys, like I said earlier, to consider their tillage plans and their tillage tools that they have today. We talk a lot about how well those things work ahead of the planters, and this week was mind-boggling on the amount of people who have called and said, hey, my neighbor has one of your Salford tools, and heck, he was able to get his beans in the ground, and I'm here with this XYZ tool. What the heck am I missing? You know, and we talk through it and you know, kind of line up a demo and stuff. But it is, you know, it's likely that one of your neighbors owns a Salford. I would urge you to talk to them and see what the heck they're doing with it this spring. You know, Seth was up there demoing one today to a guy who's never owned a Salford. He's owned a lot of other colors of tillage tools, and really opened his eyes to the ability of the Salford and how beautiful of a seed bed it creates, and how you can always plant behind it. It's amazing. It's like, we've talked about them, we've demoed them, but more than ever, this spring is showing the advantages and that unique design of a spring for every coulter. No two coulters are bolted together the same. The independent series, and how that can treat your fields, that jackhammer effect, the shattering effect, being able to break the crust without pulling up the mud and actually airing out that ground. I'll talk a little bit about my beans here in a second, but it was kind of the secret to my beans as well. I did a video last July how I use a Salford tool to basically save my double crop beans that had got crusted in. And I've seeded my wheat now for 2 years in a row, and I've got customers who have been doing it for decades with a Salford. I've had guys use it as a rotary hoe. It's the most versatile tool on the market as far as what you can do with it, no question. So I urge you to look at the YouTube videos. I'm not going to talk forever on the Salfords because we do it all the time, but just check out the YouTube videos, do some digging, and if you see someone in the neighborhood running a Salford, pay attention to that tool. I may have told this story a few times, but there's been 2 separate instances where I've seen a Salford tool, or we've done a test, one of them intentionally, one unintentionally, on a Salford tool to show how level and smooth they run. One time we were with Jim Boak, who was a prior Salford rep. He came down from Canada, and this was early on when we were doing demos, and it was me and Dad and Jim Boak, and he set a bottle of water on the frame, and he said, "All right, go ahead and drive to the other end of the field and drive back." He said that water bottle will still be on that frame. And, we thought he was crazy. And so they kicked it in high gear. They were probably running 10 miles an hour. They lift up on the ends, turn around, put it down, come back. The water bottle's still on the frame. There's no way you could ever do that with another type of tool because the blades are rigid to the frame. Another instance was Dad and I were shooting videos with a Salford with a customer, and I had a handheld Canon camera at the time, and we had to work on the tool for something, make an adjustment, and I ended up setting the camera on the frame of the tool to make the adjustment. We sat there, talked to the farmer for a little bit, and then we left. Dad and I left. We were done with we got him going, and he kept running. We got about 2 miles down the road. I said, "Shoot, I can't find my camera." Called the farmer, said, "Hey, I think we may have left the camera back there. If you see it in your field, we're coming back. Try, maybe keep an eye out for it." We get back there. We're looking around in the field for it. Sure enough, it's still sitting on the frame of the tool. He had made 3 or 4 rounds, and that camera was just sitting right there on the frame. So those things, they start to make sense as to why that's possible and how that makes a difference in your field when you actually watch one run. A lot of other tools talk about how their gangs can do this or that, and it's things that you can talk about. But with a Salford, you can only talk about it for so long before you just have to get it on their farm to show them, to demo it, because it's something you have to see, you have to feel it, you have to walk on that ground after you run the Salford and feel that air collapsing below your feet, feel that pillow-like effect to really get the full realm of what that tool can do. So that was a hot topic this week. It was unbelievable. I today sold a 41 footer over to Indiana, traded in a John Deere 2660. Didn't like the slabbing that it was doing. It was a little bit finicky, maybe, that tool, and he wanted something that was easy to use. He wanted something that was gentler to the soil. He wanted something that that actually broke up compaction instead of potentially created it. And he wanted something that he could run in some of these adverse conditions. And he traded in a John Deere 40-foot 2660 on a Salford VT today. So that's the exciting stuff that when that all comes to a head, when a customer confronts you about a tool, wanting more information, and you're able to go to his farm, talk him through it, show him what the Salford can do, and actually deliver an end product that's really going to help his farm. That's what it's all about. That's a lot of fun. So that's all I have on the Salford side of things. From there, I want to talk about my beans. I planted beans May 3rd. And like I said, it was kind of the driest little stretch that we had. And I was going on a trip that weekend. I had a brother-in-law's bachelor party, and I was just kind of tired of the seed sitting in the bag. It was only 20 acres. So, but I just wanted to get it planted. I thought the conditions were right. I had hit that tool with a Salford prior to this to kind of get it fit. It was wheat last year. So I had volunteer wheat growing, so it was kind of like planting into a cover crop. But we've got a 6-row white 8000. It's got the Yetter Air Adjust row cleaners on it, and of course the poly twisters out the back. And so Cody and I loaded up the planter. We made a couple passes, and I thought, holy cow, this is fit better than what I thought. It was crumbling. I mean, there were some wetter spots. I've got some tile issues in that field, but we were driving, we were closing the trench, and surprisingly, it was working really well. So we kept planting, and there were some places where we would have to get a little bit more aggressive with those row cleaners, help kind of dig that wheat out of the way whenever it got thicker, and those closing wheels were able to just close that slot perfectly. And I think the Salford had a lot to do with it. Like I said, I had fit that field prior to that with the Salford 1200, and it worked up beautiful. It just kind of aired it out, chopped up some of that residue, and cracked that surface. And I was able to sneak in there and get that planted. After that, it had about 3.5 to 4 inches of rain on it since it's had that on it since I planted it. So it did get crusted in. I had water laying on the field, hard pounding rains, and I think I ended up planting the beans a tick too deep. I had moisture there. I shouldn't have went as deep as I did. But as of like Monday of this week, probably half of the beans had came up on their own. They looked pretty good. But I had a lot of them heads bent over, necks were thinking about snapping. They weren't snapping quite yet on Monday. And then we actually got about 0.3 of rain on Tuesday. And after that rain, boom, you can row them. You could just see where those pale heads came up, and you could almost watch them pop in front of your eyes, and boom, 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 down the row. And right now you can walk down there and row them. So, trust me, I'm aware that there's a lot of luck involved in that, but I'm happy with that decision, and it worked out well. But I did a video this week, and it's actually one of my most popular videos that I've done in a while. I think I titled it "The Top 5 Items That You Need in a Wetter Spring Like What We're Seeing." And, I went down the line, Salford tillage tool being number one. Then I think I went to row cleaners on the planter, poly spike closing wheels. We sell that Amco ditcher. That thing is amazing. And then the pull type top air sprayers. And whenever I was planting my beans, I used 3 of those 5, the Salford tillage tool, the row cleaners, and the closing wheels. And there's no way I could have done that without any of those 3. Take out the row cleaners, and I'm hairpinning wheat and residue down into that slot. Take out the poly spike closing wheels, and I'm not closing that trench. Take out the Salford, and I don't have that residue size. I don't have that crust broken open so it can air out, and so I could actually even get in there to plant. So those were the ingredients on that planting pass on May 3rd that was able to get those beans in the ground. And today I walked it tonight. I'm very pleased. I did some stand counts. I put out 140,000 of 90% germ beans. And I did stand counts. There's some places where it's 80, some places where it's, 120. But I'm happy with it. It looks pretty good. There's a few spots where some water lay that I'm probably going to have to touch up. But overall, in the 20 acres, 18 or 19 of it is looking beautiful. So pretty happy with that. But I wanted to talk through those 5 things that I did in that video. And that video just took off. I shot it, I think, last Friday. And it, like I said, it just took off over the weekend. A lot of people watched that video. It was a long video. It was probably 10 minutes, but we walked through in detail what all those pieces can do. And on a dry spring where everyone gets planted quickly, it's really, that's great. But sometimes the advantages of those small tools, maybe a closing wheel, maybe a row cleaner, can get overlooked in that scenario. When you've got 2 weeks of dry weather, you have all kinds of time to get the field fit, and conditions are dry, slots are closing no problem. But it's when things get tough that those products really shine. And I saw it there, and I think a lot of guys really saw it, and they're thinking about it now when they saw that video. So that's the story of the beans. Like I said, they're far from a success yet, but I'm pretty excited about how they look. And if it wasn't for that last 3/10 of rain, it wouldn't have been good. They got crusted in pretty good, and they were struggling to to kind of get through there. Now, in the video, I did talk about the closing wheels having that anti-crust effect, and I need to go do another video and show where in the areas where they were able to come through. Like I said, they've had 4 inches of rain on them, so you can't quite work miracles with a closing wheel, but they certainly do help. But you can see in a lot of places where those beans, where they came up, obviously they're going to come pretty much straight up through that V, but sometimes they'll kind of shoot out through the side. They're going to find that softest point, the weakest point, to kind of push through. But if you dig, you can definitely see how those closing wheel divots, or the tracks that I talk about, really helped eliminate that crusting in a lot of places where they worked really well. So I was pretty excited about that. We're getting, I mentioned I went down to Norwesco. That tank is, it's going on a Hagie sprayer down in Georgia. We're loading a trailer, and I'm getting ready to head down to Georgia to install a Y-drop toolbar on a Hagie. Those have been pretty dang popular for us, and we have a gentleman in Georgia who's going to be running one. So we're putting that tank on the back of his Hagie to do fungicide. So he's going to be running the 360 undercovers and also Y-drops. So he'll be doing dual products with this unit. It'll be pretty unique. So I'm going to head down to Georgia next week and get that thing installed. And then probably the week after that, I'm going to be heading to Florida to install a cover crop seeder. Those of you that follow along, Cody and I went down to Florida last fall and installed a seeder and at a dairy. This will be the 3rd seeder on a dairy in Florida. And this particular customer, he ended up showing up at the last farm when we were down there in the fall, and he said, "Man, that looks pretty good. I'd like to get one of them on my Case 335." And I said, "Well, we can definitely come back down." And so, come full circle, we're going back down to the to that guy's farm. So it's pretty interesting how that all played out. So, got some big trips coming up. Those will be fun. They take a lot of work. It's going to be some time away, but they're fun. Again, I enjoy getting out there on the farm, get to see some South Georgia fields. They're growing cotton. They're growing all kinds of stuff. They're actually on 36-inch corn. So get to see some unique stuff that you just don't get to see here in Ohio. So pretty excited about that. So that's what's going on kind of in the future as far as trips that I know that we have coming up. Strip till's been another hot topic. Strip till's always a hot topic. We don't go a week without someone calling us saying, hey, I'm interested in strip till. I don't know where to get started. But I'm shifting gears here, going through different topics. But, strip till is one that we could do an entire series of podcasts on because it's got so many variables to it. But I'm seeing a big uptick in guys that do want to explore strip till, and every one of them customers that I talked to this week has a slightly different narrative as to why they want to do strip till, and that's what makes strip till so unique, and it's why there's so many different manufacturers of strip till. You've got 3-point bars and pull type and putting down dry, putting down liquid, and spring or fall shanks and colders, and there's so many options there that it makes it hard for an equipment dealership and manufacturers to make a plan on what they want to do to supply row units and how to build bars. So that's been on our radar. I think in the future we're going to stock some 60-foot toolbars. We stock Salford tillage tools, and we always talk about it. You can't sell it if you don't have it. And in the strip till world, we've got some row units here, some row units there, and we've got some toolbars. But at the end of the day, you kind of end up with a glued together piece that this manufacturer made the toolbar, this manufacturer made the row units, this manufacturer made the fertilizer hopper. I think we want to streamline that. I think we're going to go with some 60-foot bars, put them in stock, have some small demo bars to demo around, but we're going to have some turnkey systems sitting here ready to go so that when those guys call, because, if a guy were to call today and want to order a 60-foot toolbar, it would take quite some time to get that unit pieced together, get the toolbar in, get the units in. They would all come in at separate times. If we ordered one today in May, we might not get it put together by fall. Versus ordering a turnkey system, I think that's the way to go. It comes in on a truck, pre-assembled. It's got the support from the manufacturer that built it. The warranty's good for the entire thing from a single manufacturer. And so I'm excited about that. We've always been involved in strip till, but I think we're going to take a bigger leap here and push strip till as hard. Well, we're not pushing it. The customers are pushing it. We have a lot of solutions, I should say, for strip till, and we can tackle all of those conditions. But the customer demand that we're seeing, guys are wanting 40-foot and 60-foot toolbars, and they want it to be a pull type, front fold, narrow transport. It's got to have as big of a fertilizer box on it as you can have, easy to use, easy to set, and it's got to have support behind it. And so we're going to chase that. We're going to chase that avenue pretty hard. So strip till for us, it's always been a big deal. We've built dozens and dozens of strip till bars, some that are 4 rows, some that are 36 rows, some that are 24. But I think that there's been a lot of transition in the strip till world. A lot of colder units maybe going away from knives or having units that can do both. But I think we're ready to jump all in on that deal and just make it more accessible to the customer. Because if a customer calls today and wants to just talk about strip till, the odds of getting a strip till bar in that customer's hands is pretty slim. Because if he's calling today about it, it's a move that he's wanting to make in the next year, 2 years, 3 years. And he's going to go through different transitions of, well, I don't want a mole knife. And then he'll talk to maybe someone, maybe I do want a mole knife. And there gets to be so much clutter, so much noise in the strip till world where you just got to find a unit that's well-rounded, has support, and go with it. And so this will close that gap from a guy calling in wanting to just kind of talk strip till to being able to take a complete demo bar out to him, but have the big 60-foot bar that he really ends up wanting here on the lot, ready to go. I mean, ready to load on a trailer. So that's the plan that we're chasing down. So I'm excited about that too. So that'll be pretty big. Those of you who attended our field day last summer, or maybe you heard about it or saw advertising on it, we will be having another one this year, probably sometime in that June, July time frame. And so it'll be at the same location. It was at my farm last year. It'll be there again. So stay tuned for that. We'll have some details coming out. Last year we waited till after wheat harvest, but I think we're going to do it maybe a little sooner. After everyone gets planted and side dressed here in Ohio, I think we're going to go ahead and do it. Maybe mid-July or mid-June, maybe. Oh, that's only a month away, but we will see. So, a lot of stuff going on. This change in weather and the weather. That's really what this whole podcast has been about. But it's created. It's opened a lot of eyes to, maybe guys thought their arsenal was pretty loaded and pretty well rounded. But maybe there's some changes that need to be done to help sharpen that pencil and help round out their fleet to make it more universal. Maybe it can handle wider variety of conditions, and that's what we're here for. So that's pretty much all I've got. Haven't been doing much hunting lately. Cody and I did that podcast on our way home from that Kentucky trip. Still think about that one all the time. That was a lot of fun. Haven't even been coyote hunting since that trip. So it's been busy at the shop, and with the daylight, with it staying light out later, can't really coyote hunt till 9, 10 o'clock, and pretty soon you're staying out till 3 a.m. and that gets pretty old. So haven't done much of that lately. Coyotes are having pups right now. So there's their pups are probably about a month old right now. They had them mid-April. So there's more coyotes now than there's ever been in the last 12 months anyways, because coyotes are unique, and a lot of people don't know this, but if you have, say, 5 square miles and there's 20 coyotes on there, and you kill 3/4 or even half of those coyotes, the remaining half will have enough offspring to repopulate that entire system. And you're thinking, well, yeah, of course they will. But coyotes have offspring to match the amount of food available, in a way, food and space available. So if there's a heavy populated coyote area all the time, they're going to have fewer pups. If there is a low population of coyotes, they're going to have larger litters. It's pretty interesting how that works. So there's more coyotes now than there has been in the last 11 months. So it should be good. Should be good going here in the next 6 months. There's a lot of them, and I actually saw one today, and they're out probably preying on turkey nests and people's lambs and other types of offspring. I know around here a lot of the livestock's confined, but they're still definitely able to get after those baby calves and all kinds of stuff. Around here you don't hear that much, but down south and stuff like that, they can definitely do some devastation. So, but turkey season's pretty much out in everywhere. It's getting late in the season. The hens are nesting and the eggs are getting ready to hatch. So turkey season's out of the question, and it's pretty much just coyote hunting until deer season. So that's pretty much all I've got. I think it was a great week, and next week I think we're going to be in for another trip because some of the things we've sold this week have got some deadlines on them. I guess as far as like that 41 footer that I sold today, it's going to show up from Salford next week, and we're going to spin it around in the shop, get it built real quick, and he's going to use it yet this spring. So that was a quick turnaround on Salford's end, so we really appreciate them rushing that thing through, and it's going to be here next week. We're going to get it built. We'll have all hands on deck for that thing, and that 41 footer is going to get dirty already next week. So that'll be a lot of fun. So we'll have the service truck next week. I'll do some videos on that. And if you guys are listening to the podcast, I'm guessing that you already kind of tune into the YouTube channel or followed a little bit. So I appreciate that. We're having more and more views on that. Those Raven 440 videos that we do, those create a lot of phone calls. We're happy to help guys with those. I would say we probably get about 20 to 30 phone calls every week from just on those Raven videos. Guys calling, wanting help with flow meters or calibrating something, or maybe they're not getting a speed signal. So we're happy to help. It feels good to just get I'll have a farmer call from Utah, have a farmer call from Florida, anywhere, Vermont. He'll say, I don't know who you are, but apparently you can help me with my 450, and we'll walk through what's going on. And 9 times out of 10, we can get him tackled over the phone. Sometimes we might have to ship him a flow meter or a valve or whatever it is, but it's fun. He's not really, most of them aren't even customers. And 9 times out of 10, they don't end up buying. They don't need anything. We just provide that service over the phone, and we enjoy it. So it's a lot of fun to be able to talk to all those guys across the country. It also gives me, I really like being able to get that pulse. I'll start getting the sprayer calls from down south early in the spring, February. So I know those guys are spraying. And then I'll get the side dress calls. And so it lets me know what's going on across the country. He'll say, I'm working on my side dress barn. I'll say, where are you from? Western Kentucky. Okay, so you must be side dressing. Oh yeah, my corn, it's shin high. I planted it April 10th. It looks good. And we'll kind of talk about the weather and the crops in his area, and gives me a pretty good feel on what's going on out there. So enjoy doing that. But other than that, that's all I've got for this podcast. Kind of a shorter one, and you're stuck with me. So that's what's going on in our world. We appreciate you guys tuning in. We really do. We're creeping up on 10,000 downloads on our podcast. That's exciting. We're creeping up on, 2,500 subscribers on our YouTube channel, which for some of the YouTube guys out there, that's pretty low. But for a purely educational channel like what we provide, I think that's pretty good. We have a lot of guys that talk about the videos. We really enjoy doing them. Cody and I are always thinking of new videos to do to help customers, and that's what we're here for. So that's what we're doing today. Thanks for tuning in.